Good evening to one and all. The School of Ancient Wisdom is happy to welcome all of you to yet another learning session this evening. We thank you for your participation and welcome all of you in the ongoing webinar series. As always, we would like to begin with our school prayer. I would request all of you to please join me. For your reference, I have pasted school prayer in the chat box. O hidden life, vibrant in every atom, O hidden light, shining in every creature, O hidden love, embracing all in oneness, may each who feels himself as one with thee know he is also one with every other. Thank you. Today we have with us Mr. Yogeshvar. With the grace of his gurus, he has a decent level of expertise in the practice and teaching of traditional yoga and facilitating self-knowledge in the light of the teachings of Vedanta. So, Mr. Yogeshwar, we thank you very much for your valuable time and truly appreciate it. We now hand over this forum to Mr. Yogeshwar to engage us for the next 1 hour and request him to share his knowledge and insights with us. Thank you.
Yes. Namaste, everybody. So we will begin our session with Mangalacharanam, traditional chanting. Om Sahana Vavatu Sahano Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavagai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma Vidvishavagahi. Om Shanti 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 Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Harihi Om. Okay. So the last class we were discussing about Charya and the different challenges, how to face, etc. Some parts of that. It's an endless topic in itself. Each topic we can talk about for a lifetime about perfection of every aspect of spiritual life. Every single aspect of spiritual life, in order to understand completely, is a lifetime project. So we are trying to have an overview, overall basic idea about the approach, etc. So in Charya, we used a very important concept called shraddha. Okay? So we've been talking about shraddha for more than 2 classes now. Shraddha, I said, like my Guruji used to define it, it is surrender. He calls it surrender. It is not just faith, it's surrender. It's surrendering of the entire ego structure, our intellect. So shraddha also, shraddha also means commitment. In in the Shraddha Traya Vibhaga Yoga, I think in 17th chapter, Bhagavad Gita, he says the Purusha is an embodiment of Shraddha, is made of Shraddha. It is the Shraddha that defines a person. So an individual is defined by their his or her Shraddha. Right? So we discussed about that. And also why? Because the individual is also called as the Jiva. Right? The technical word for an individual, what you call as a soul, right? It's a Jiva. And this Jiva has a technical word in Vedanta, it's called Vijnanamaya. And the Shraddha is in the Vijnana. So when, and also I told about that Taittiriya Upanishad talking about the Vijnanamaya Atma having Shraddha as the head, Pratham and Satyam as the wings, etc. Okay? So a person is defined by his or her Shraddha. That's what we saw. We can discover, it is a process of self-discovery, a continuous process. It takes some time. We need to spend time with ourselves. We need to observe our thinking, our responses, how things affect us. We need to observe how we tend to think. See, how we push ourselves to think, how we present ourselves to others, these are all conscious, what we do consciously. That is our purushartha, right? So that is what we are trying to do. So that is our willful presentation of ourselves, both to ourselves and to others. Because sometimes we can cheat ourselves. So when we do that, when we willful presentation is, it is it's like tip of the iceberg. So the entire subliminal, below the surface, what personality we have. So that is what controls most of our life, and the shraddha is to be discovered there. So what is my shraddha? What is my assimilated? What is my internalized shraddha? Is a process of self-discovery. So every one of us, if you really want to bridge the gap between theory and practice, if you really want to bridge the gap between how we want to be and how we are, it is imperative, essential, and I would even say the first step is to understand our shraddha. What is the nature of my shraddha? This also gives you an idea about your dharma. So dharma, so all of that comes under this. It's a certain kind of self-discovery which comes close to there is a concept, a very famous concept these days in Japanese culture. It is all over the world now. It's called ikigai. You can Google that, ikigai. So this self-discovery process of one shraddha is something like this ikigai. So if you do that ikigai, probably you will understand your kind of shraddha. So how do I tend, when I say I want to discover my shraddha, one of the main things that I can do is to watch myself, how I tend to think in times of crisis, how I tend to think when my crisis, we may not have crisis all the time, thank God. I hope, we don't have crisis all the time. But we always have situations when a strong desire is challenged. There is a challenge to actualize and realize a strong desire, be it in acquiring, it's like women with saris and dresses, and men with probably, I don't know, motorbikes and cars, and this jeans pant, shades of jeans pant. I don't know, each one has their own thing. So there are these desires, and there are these very strong preferences. There are some habituated preferences, like the right kind of coffee in the morning. And there are some people who are visually very sensitive, the right kind of environment, what do you call as ergonomics in the room? Can somebody, I'm hearing some sound from somebody. Kindly mute your mics. Otherwise,
Yes, I'll mute.
So there are these people with very high level of visual sensitivity. So they need the right colors. I have noticed this in Westerns. They want the right colors in the room. There is a right view, and what hangs on the wall where. So this kind of things. So these preferences. Like this, each one of us have a set of certain strong habit-based preferences. There's a certain desire. We want this, we want that, we want something so much. A relationship, for example, which might lead to frustrations, jealousy if it is not satisfied, or it might lead to extreme excitement and an unsettling kind of joyous experience when it is satisfied. And then you don't know what to do in the joy, you jump too much, and then people can make some mistakes. It's like, it could be either way. So, in these moments, when there is a strong desire in the mind, active, either when it is satisfied or it is frustrated, or it has been alternating. Sometimes it is satisfied, sometimes it is not satisfied. So sometimes you're frustrated, sometimes you're excited. So in these moments, we can watch how is our value system and how we tend to think and how we tend to value certain things and the people and the situations around us. How we tend to think about our spiritual practice, and what I said is, our commitment and belongingness to the spiritual support system, the relationship we have with our spiritual support system, be it our sampradaya or whatever. So, groups of sangha, whatever we belong to, our guruji or anybody, we can see how that experience of satisfaction or frustration of a desire affects our attitude towards our spiritual commitment or our relationship with the spiritual support system. This is something that we can observe. Very simple, then it's a very simple example is, we are all, one common thing that we hear is when things are going wrong, we blame God. But when things are all going well, we don't thank God. This is one common thing they keep saying, right? When we go to Mahatmas, they keep saying, when things are going well, do you thank God? So in India, we have, you generally in India, among Hindus, thank God, we do that. So many of us do that. But what I would say is when things go wrong, especially when things go wrong, I have seen a tendency in many people to question what is, what is the point of all this? This question comes. Especially there are people, when you go through a long period, they call it sadhe sati and all that. So, continuously for many years, things are not working out. And, there are sometimes it happens for some people. Like, they go completely into a total bottom, and it will flat out in the bottom for a long time, and then they will come up. So by the time they come up, when they are in the bottom, there is a huge challenge. That's a huge challenge for us to maintain a positive attitude towards the spiritual support system, because the problem in the spirituality is everything is adrishtam. This is really one very frustrating thing that we have is everything in the spiritual world, like almost except probably you're feeling good after a pranayama or meditation or some yoga asanas. That's why yoga is such a big hit, because you do something, you see the result, and you feel good immediately. So drifta palam. But in adrishta palam, for example, you do a charity, you are very good to people, and you are always, practicing forgiveness, and you are practicing maitri, karuna, etc., and the chitta prasadam, and you are always trying to uh, just, you're always trying to be fair in the dealings, like that. And then you see that you are the one who tends to suffer. And those who are ruthless and those who are unfair, even, ruthlessness is at least okay. There are people who are fair in the sense, they're not nice, but they are ruthless. And then there are people who are not nice and they are ruthless, and they are unfair. There are people who are fair and ruthless. There are people who are unfair and ruthless. So you see that things working out for them. You see, well, in fact, we don't have to, just all around us. We have to see that how many fraudsters are able to live well. So there are some, there are some people who are like, nothing goes wrong for them. They're all their life, they are only cheating. They are exploiting people. They have done unspeakable horrible crimes, and they live up to 90, 95, almost 100 years with a big family and house in the center of the city with all the political positions, chief minister or whatnot. And then they die very peacefully with all the, with nothing happening. Everything goes well for them. And everybody knows that person is a hooligan, and everybody knows what level of criminal that person is. There are a lot of people that it happens for them. So then this is, it doesn't seem fair. That is like absolutely doesn't make any sense. And then you think, then what is the point of me being nice? So this comes. So when we are faced with that, when we faced with injustice in the society, these situations are very, very challenging. So these situations are a mirror for us to have a look at how we tend to think in extreme situations. Either when we are affected by by observing extreme situations, or when we experience it for ourselves. Especially when we experience it for ourselves, it is even more challenging. And two things is when things are working out for us, how we tend to treat others for whom things are not working out. And when things are not working for us, how we tend to treat ourselves and our goals, and how we tend to treat our relationship with our spiritual support system. So these are some simple observations that we can do and make notes. So this, like I told in the, I think in the first class itself, I said, maintaining a spiritual progress journal, a Nishta journal, we can probably maintain, all of us can maintain a Nishta journal and make a point. We are all carrying the phone all the time. You can just have a Nishta journal in the notes. Just put just a hint, then you can go and develop it later. Suddenly you see that how I tend to think, just a self-observation, making it a habit. So what happens is, when things are working out, we tend to think and value life in a very positive way. We say that life is beautiful. It's like I have seen in the Western countries, when spring and summer is coming, everybody is happy and say life is beautiful and all that, and a lot of romance going on. And then when after autumn comes and winter comes, everybody is depressed. And winter depression is what I heard is one of the big issues in these cold countries like Nordic countries and all that. It's a huge issue, winter depression. So there is a huge potential for selling yoga there because of winter depression. Yeah. When we keep fluctuating like this, there are two things happening in the mind. One is our chitta, in our mental tendencies, we can see ourselves having a tendency to think negatively. We have a tendency, so that is natural. So that is more prakrita, that is more a kind of a habit related thing, and it's more of a discipline kind of a thing, and it is more hormonal, it is more climatic. Sometimes people feel very dull and unmotivated when there is a low pressure depression. It is about to rain. I have seen some of my students, like, they don't feel like doing anything, and then it's going to rain. So when the climate is good, that person is very all positive. And there are some people whose mood is changing according to the phase of the moon. When there is full moon, they are in one way. There is a decreasing moon or amavasya, they are in another way. These kind of things. Women around periods, for example, and men around failure and success. Whenever they are able to get things done, man's self-image is boosted, and feels all good, and dopamine, and after exercise feels very good. And when the person is not valued much, generally men tend to get depressed, and they are not able to solve a problem. Helplessness. They see there is a situation that requires some problem solving, and the man is not able to do that, and he feels helpless. That's one of the worst things. Apparently, the males are having to face, and if they face that, they get very dull and all that. They start questioning all kinds of things. So now this is a mind-related, chitta-related thing. It is more subconscious. It's more habit pattern. It has to do more with the self-discipline and how we have conditioned ourselves, programmed ourselves, etc. But behind this, in a more fundamental level, there is a zone of thinking that we have. That is where shraddha is. There is a zone of thinking in our vijnana, in our thinking, in our buddhi, in our unconscious buddhi, in our what we call as the settled, assimilated, residual understanding. At the level of the residual understanding, how we make judgments, and how we see, and value certain fundamental things in life. For example, how we value our commitment to spirituality, how we value the spiritual path itself. how we value the concept of punya and papa. For example, like I told you, it is an adrishta palam. We cannot see it. The only way we can know about good karma, bad karma is from shraddha. So if the person has a very good shraddha, when they are suffering, the mind will not have a problem seeing this as a result of past karma. I'm doing my best. I'm trying all that I can. So maybe something is wrong in my karma. That is why things are not working out. Or they're able to understand it. So the knowledge from the Shastra about karma, about past karma being responsible for the current experiences, the pleasant and unpleasant experiences that we, the prarabdha karma being responsible for these experiences that we face every day. And one's conscious commitment in facing those situations with a certain particular attitude, that constitutes what we call as purushartha. A person who has really internalized this will never question the fundamental justice in the universe. For example, this universe is fundamentally just. Right now, at this moment, things look absolutely unfair to me. But in the big picture, there is nothing unfair. Now, this is something you cannot arrive at only with intellect. You have to arrive at only with shraddha. So here we know whether we have shraddha or not. So we can see how our shraddha tends to be. Is my shraddha all nice, rosy, whenever things are working out, or is my shraddha stable even when things are not working out? That is one observation that we can make. And coming to this, when we are dealing with the shraddha, one of the things that can help, especially when the shraddha is shaky or not very clear. So, in that situation, what can help to keep us on track? What can help us in Nishta is goal clarity. We being absolutely convinced about the spiritual goal that we are working towards. It could be either there is no compromise. I need to align completely with Dharma. My thinking, my speech, my action, my feelings, emotions, my deepest desires, everything should be in alignment with Dharma. That could be a goal, right? Ethical person, I should become a perfectly righteous and ethical person. For what? For its own sake, like in philosophy, I read about one Kant, Immanuel Kant. He talks about categorical imperative or something like that. So he says it is truth for truth's sake. Beauty, it's like how, because we understand these are certain fundamental values in life, and when we are completely aligned with that, there is a certain kind of a harmony and a dignity, and there is a certain beauty and meaningfulness in life, and we understand how fundamentally important it is. So those who have studied psychology and all that, they have concluded that meaningfulness and alignment is very, very important. So if not for some transcendental reason, at least for this reason, you consider that as very important. And also when we understand the karma theory, how karma works, I will come to that. So that information is very useful because that's a tricky thing, understanding karma. We will discuss that. So this goal clarity, dharma could be a goal, right? I'm talking about purusharthas basically. Artha, kama. So when I'm saying I want to acquire wealth and security in my life, relationships, etc., then I have to tell myself I cannot compromise dharma for the sake of acquiring this. So how do I dharmically acquire, ethically acquire the wealth that I want? If I want to enjoy some pleasure, how I enjoy the pleasure in the correct way and not in the wrong way, in the sense, then the right and wrong depends again on desha kala patra, what we say, based on the place, based on the time period, and based on the person and the context. Based on that, each case have to be decided whether what is right and what is wrong. And it is a very profound topic. Even Dharmaraja had a confusion about making dharmic decisions. So it's a growing clarity. So all of us, no matter how mature we are, there is always a zone of clarity that could be improved upon when it comes to dharma. Dharma is probably only the Lord knows what is perfect dharma in every situation. But we all try to take the broad principles inside and try to live up to the best of our knowledge. Like they write in these documents, no? I declare to the best of my knowledge that and memory that is so and so whatever I have written is true, like that we say, right? So like that, to the best of our knowledge, we acquire wealth or whatever and pleasure. Or if we are mature enough to understand moksha, liberation as a goal, then that is our goal. But samadhana this is called samadhana, or conviction about one's goal. The mind has settled down and is absolutely clear and settled down in the pursuit of that spiritual goal. So this is what is is a very helpful factor that supports shraddha, and it also supports our charya and commitment. Charya, kriya, when we go into the different practices and different levels of progress in our spiritual practice, this samadhana, it is called. It is one of the when we see the sadhana chatushtaya. In that, it's very famous. All the Vedanta classes talk about sadhana chatushtaya, the fourfold qualifications for a seeker of liberation. Viveka, vairagya, mumukshitva, samadhi shakta sampatti. In that samadhi shakta sampatti, the sixfold inner assets, it's called. One of the assets is samadhana. The mind being absolutely convinced about that spiritual goal and has no doubt. Moksha alone, for example, right? So I'm not, because I don't want to market moksha as the only spiritual goal. Then it becomes like Buddhism. It's a problem. So if you have not really internalized and understood moksha, then there is no point me trying to, if you have not arrived at moksha as the goal, there is no point trying to market it. So moksha, recognizing moksha as the only true worthy goal is a certain clarity each one of us have to arrive at. So as we live through we do understand, all of us are here because we do understand that there is a certain fundamental value for spiritual knowledge. There is a fundamental value for a spiritually aligned way of living. And we do appreciate the presence of the spiritual reality behind the apparent physical reality that we are aware of and we are living. Right? So because of that, there is a certain interest in the spiritual dimension of life. That is exactly why we are here. So it's either, for example, there is a value for living an ethical life. That is a spiritual dimension to that. And there is a value for kindness and unconditional love. There is a value for service and reaching out. There is a value for being truthful. So there is a value for harmony and peace, for example, inner peace, outer peace. So these are all certain fundamental things, whether we like it or not, whether we consciously we are pursuing that or not, all of us are behind these things. So when we recognize that, when we recognize these fundamental values that are behind all our seeking, when we have arrived at it, we understand that there is, and along with that, we have some kind of an awareness of the spiritual dimension. So we have this interest in spiritually aligning ourselves and bettering ourselves, right? So in that process, one of the things that we are able to relate to immediately, all of us are able to relate to, is Dharma. So when we are talking about being a spiritually aligned person, Dharma, living according to Dharma, living an ethical life, living a life in harmony with the universe, comes first. It's something which is very relatable at the experience level, and it is very relatable as a process level. And even though, so that is something that we can connect and appreciate immediately. We don't have to, it doesn't require any, because it is instinctive. Wanting truth is instinctive. You don't want anybody to lie to you, right? So similarly, wanting harmony and peace is instinctive. So because of that, we can relate to that. And from there, we can expand and try to reach that to, try to make it, actualize that in our behavior and in our interactions with everybody. So this is something that we can start with. And why to be committed to that? Here is where this clarity. So that is, when we are sure about this, then also when combined with the deep intuitive sense that we have that there is a spiritual reality as the cause of all these things that we are experiencing, as a cause, there is a spiritual cause for this entire world. Now that because I cannot, there are various logical ways in which, you cannot logically prove that, but you can this seems to be the most logical, that I cannot think of a possibility of me not existing. Even to imagine me non-existing, I have to be there. Right? It's as simple as that. So that the quality of consciousness, it is not possible to imagine nothing. It is possible to imagine no things, but it is not possible to imagine no self. There is this sense of self you cannot get rid of that. So this fundamental level of consciousness, this is something you can try, sit and do it like a joke experiment. Can I think of me not being there? You can think of your body not being there. You can think of certain conditions not being there. But to imagine that non-existence, you need to exist, right? So the spiritual, as the conscious principle, the principle of consciousness, the spiritual reality that sustains this apparent reality that we are experiencing, the absolute, the eternal spiritual reality that sustains this transactional reality that we are experiencing, is out of question. And the absolute necessity for Dharma in order to have a harmonious existence, interpersonal existence, and man-nature related existence, there is no doubt about that. There is a certain kind of an instinctive appreciation for these things. So instead of questioning all that too much, one can start working with the Samadhana and shraddha from here. So you are convinced about Dharma. So there is no compromise on Dharma. So that is Samadhana. Right? So then comes, so when I have no compromise about that, when my shraddha is in a problem, when my commitment to my spiritual support system or knowledge system is in a problem, is a little shaky, I can always fall back upon my fundamental values, my fundamental spiritual values. I appreciate with or without the spiritual support system. My fundamental spiritual values that I cherish, which were in the first place the reason, which were the main reason that took me to my spiritual support system. What is it that took me to my spiritual support system? There is something inside me that pushed me to seek spiritual knowledge, something that pushed me to seek some spiritual support, some spiritual force or spiritual helping hand. So something of a spiritual nature I wanted to reach out to, because there was some force inside me that is connected to some of my fundamental, what they call in psychology as being needs, self-actualization needs, whatever. So these fundamental spiritual needs in me, because it's my spirit, it enriches my spirit, spiritual need. So these fundamental spiritual needs are in me, are the ones which took me to my spiritual support system in the first place. So this is called Samadhana, or this, I am diluting the Vedantic Samadhana. Vedantic Samadhana is that moksha as the only goal. So in the context of Vedanta, that is, but I am using that principle here. So the main support that can come for shraddha is, when my shraddha is shaky, I always fall back upon my fundamental value commitments that I have for myself, with or without my spiritual knowledge system, with or without the spiritual support system. I always want to be happy. I always want to be in harmony. I don't want to feel any conflict inside myself. So I can be true to myself, and I can be true to what I actually deeply want. So that is always the best fallback option, the final fallback option. So when I am spending time with that, and when I'm clear with that, from there I can again begin my search to see how do I proceed to seek the right spiritual. So what would be the right spiritual, what would be the right knowledge system that would be supportive of this, that would help me to arrive at this goal. Then my quest for knowledge begins again, and then I can develop my shraddha. Because in our current times, it is all very nice to read in Mundaka Upanishad, Gurumeva Bigache, Shrotriyam Brahmanishtam. It's all very nice. But we don't, the problem is when we read all these autobiography of yogi, or this kind of Ramakrishna, they lived with God, and this kind of books, right? So it gives us some kind of a romantic idea about a guru, Romantic in the sense, I'm not meaning in the common sense. I mean in a spiritually romantic sense. It gives us some kind of fantasy of the perfect master. Right? This perfect master fantasy doesn't exist. There is no perfect master. All the masters who are there, all the acharyas who are there, they have their own personal problems, and it's not a problem. As long as, so what they tell in the tradition is that person learned enough? Is that person having the critical level of discipline and the commitment for the welfare of the student and the critical level of personal discipline to keep their junk from affecting the teaching process? If they have enough discipline to keep their junk from affecting the whatever their inner junk they have from Janmantra, from affecting the process of teaching and dissemination of the spiritual knowledge and giving the spiritual support, initiation or whatever. So if they are able to stay above, if they are able to stay afloat like a lotus, that would do. So you need to see that if I am going to a teacher, if I am going to a guru, if I am seeking a guru, these are the things that I cannot compromise. Okay, there are some things I can, if the guru gets annoyed a little bit and yells at me, okay, I can take it up to a certain point. So when you go, so you can have some basic things, absolutely uncompromised like that. I can't deal with this. Then you can keep that list. You have to think about it. So we cannot go to we cannot just jump. Because that is only for movies. Eat, pray, love. Some guy comes and touches your forehead, and then your kundalini goes up. This is all absolute nonsense. So if we go based on that, there are a lot of people who go based on that. This kind of going on some spiritual experience trip. So when you end up going with that kind of motivation, there is a very high likelihood of getting misled into unnecessary sects, cults, groups, and manipulative. There are people who could be masters with some skill set, but they may not have spiritual wisdom. So it is possible to end up with some manipulative person. So all these things are there. So the spirituality is a $1 billion market, and so because of that, even today, even Vedanta acharyas are ending up marketing themselves on social media. I have seen so many sannyasis on Facebook. I don't understand why a sannyasi should be on Facebook, but anyway. So there are so many sannyasis. They have their own reason, so no problem. They are all gurus, so they have the reasons. But traditionally, that's not what is told. So what we say, okay, this is the necessity of the times. It is that person's commitment to. So we can create reasons that person's commitment to praswadhyaya and pravachana. That person is, it's like having an ashram. You're having a virtual ashram. Like that we can say. So the logic can serve anything. So the point is, when we are seeking a guru, we need to understand the practicalities, because that is also a human being, and that person will have their own positives, negatives. That person will have their own, So it is very important not to get caught in some kind of a fantasy and try to impose that fantasy on that person, and then get frustrated later, and then that frustration with the guru leading for us to lose our faith in the whole spiritual thing. Oh yeah, all of these guys are fraud. Like this, they come to very quick conclusion. You end up coming to you end up surrendering to a guru in an impulsive way, and then also you lose your shraddha in an impulsive way. You kind of it's like we do everything impulsively, and then we end up with the spiritual support system also impulsively, and we leave the spiritual support system also impulsively. So this has been a habit. So this is a trend these days. We tend to do everything in a rajasic manner. Rajasic, there are 3 gunas, sattva, rajas, tamas. So we will do discussion on the 3 gunas also sometimes. So this shraddha, we have to see that whether it is sattvic, rajasic, or tamasic. And if it is sattvic, generally it is going to stay. If it is rajasic, it is going to fluctuate. If it is tamasic, it's going to give you trouble. Right. So that's how it is. And when shraddha shakes, so this is our main point of the day. When shraddha is shaky, fall back upon samadhana, or your conviction. What are you convinced about as your spiritual goal? What is my spiritual goal? What am I committed to for myself with or without the spiritual support system, whether there's a guru is there or not, ashram is there or not, Vedas are there or not, Vedanta is there or not, Ishvara is there or not, I am committed to this purpose. When I have absolute clarity about that, like I said in the beginning of the class about this ikigai, what I actually want, then I can go, when I know what I want, when I have goal clarity, then I can go what is called as sadhya. I can go and look for the right sadhana or the means which will take me to the goal, the tools, the means in terms of knowledge, in terms of skill sets, in terms of teaching support system, what will help me to take me closer to the goal. Either it is a knowledge goal or a samskara or a purificatory goal, or it is a time-bound goal or a timeless goal. Whatever may be my spiritual goal, that support system, that knowledge, that standard which is out there, which is going to help me to reach my goal. I can always go back, I can always look for it. I can refine my search, like in a Google search engine, I can always refine my search criteria and then start looking for it. And because there's fundamental faith in what I want and I have certain abilities, I can do my best to get back to shraddha. So, but the main important thing, the fundamental thing that I should not question is, this shraddha I should have this. I cannot question my samadhana. I cannot question the certain fundamental values that I have. There are certain fundamental needs in my heart that I feel are very, very important and very at the core of my being. I appreciate and I value this spiritual truth. Like I value this spiritual goal of righteousness or ethics or truth or harmony, peace, etc. If I value that, if I am valuing integrity, for example, it's extremely important not to subject that to analysis. Don't subject that to analysis or don't question its validity. It is a strong need. There is no end to questioning. That's why in Bhagavad Gita, that very famous statement, Agnyascha ashraddha dhanascha sanshayatma vinashyati. There is the one who is constantly doubting and questioning has no happiness in this world, no happiness in the other world also. That individual will destroy oneself. It comes. It's a very simple thing. So there is a point where we have to stop questioning and start acting. So when shraddha is a problem, fall back on your goal, your commitment, which took you to the spiritual support system in the first place, and do not question that. Just start working on that and just stay with that. That is something that can help us in Nishta, because in these days of excessive information and indiscriminate flooding of information, what we have as, this we have in our tradition what is called as adhikari bheda. What is to be told for who? So this adhikari bheda is completely gone. It is, it's totally blown off because of this Google and chat GPT and AI and everything. So all information is open, out and open. If you want Brahmastra Yukti, how to do Brahmastra and destroy a nation, that mantra is available. Mantra Mahodadi is available. If you want to do some black magic, it is available. If you want to do some great upasana, some Shiva upasana, that is a very big secret and all that, that is also available. You can just go. Dasamaha Vidya available. Whatever you want is available online. And then, what happens is, in a way, it is good. It's not, in a way, I think it is good because information is taking the second priority. Information is not very important anymore. It is the relevance of the information of us. So eventually we will end up in Adhikari Bheda. So because of this indiscriminate dissemination of information and knowledge, and everybody wants a piece of our mind, there is everybody advertising courses, and then they are trying to manipulate your shraddha. There are these self-projecting gurus who are endowed with a lot of money, with a lot of PR power. There are professional designers who are working to project them. There are professional PR agencies working for them, and they are all trying to tell you that come to me and I will enlighten you and I will free you. I will transform you, all kind of things, right? So then then they are agents. Your neighbor is going to that ashram or to that guru. He comes and says, hey, Guruji is coming to this thing now. Why don't you come and join the satsang? It is wonderful. This is that. So then this is constant because of all kinds of things. There are always competing knowledge systems. There are competing spiritual systems that wants a piece of our shraddha. Now, if you think of your shraddha is like a globe, everybody wants a bite, like a cake. So what happens is, because of this, it is bound to happen. It is bound to happen for most of us that our shraddha is disturbed, and that is when we need to be very clear. So that is when, no matter whether shraddha is there or not, it is very important to develop an absolute clarity on what I want. So when I have that samadhana, absolute clarity and commitment to what I want, this is what I am working towards, with or without a guru, with or without scripture, with or without spiritual support system, with or without God. Because it's wonderful this approach is excellent in Vedanta. There is a thing they start, prayojana vina mandopi na pravakte. Without a use, without a tangible use, without a use that one can relate to, even an idiot, without a purpose or a use, even an idiot will not undertake an effort. So he may be confused about the means and the ends. He may think, this is what is going to give me. He may be in the wrong direction, but because he imagines at some level of understanding or misunderstanding, because that idiot is imagining that he's going to get something out of it, that's exactly why he's doing. Now, even a schizophrenic, in that moment of schizophrenia, he is imagining something and reacting to it. It is that wanting a certain result unconsciously is what propels a person into action. Right? So without use, no undertaking needs to be undertaken. So similarly, there is no use. We are not here to serve God. That's something we need to understand. So we are not here to serve God. We are not here to serve any scripture or shastra. All of this is for us. Right? The Veda is there for us. The Shastra is there for us. The Guru is there for us. The spiritual system is there for us. So if I am clear about my goal, then the whole universe will align around my goal. And then I can always go and seek out the right help, and I can always seek out the right support. I can always seek out the right guidance. So never question the validity of your deeply, strongly felt spiritual goal that we have inside. And staying committed to that is one of the first, and the staying committed to that will define how strong our spiritual platform is for Nishta. So that is the ultimate fallback option, and there must be no confusion regarding that. And let us all spend time to understand what I deeply, internally, unconsciously, I tend to want in spiritually. What is the most valued spiritual principle that I feel inside me? What is it? For me, for example, I did some research in my younger years. For me, it was freedom. It was always about freedom. So that is my value, right? Freedom. And so each one will have their own thing. So you can have that fundamental value. That is your fallback option. That is exactly what took you to spirituality in the first place. So we need to get to that. That is called Samadhana. And that is that provides the base for our shraddha. And this samadhana and shraddha provides the base for all the efforts that we are making in improving and perfecting our nishta. So this is what I wanted to discuss today. And very important not to keep on questioning your fundamental spiritual values. You feel it strongly, it is there with you, it keeps popping up in all the important moments of life. That's it. Hold on to it and start working with it. And try to see how to actualize that spiritual value as your living reality. And then from there, you can develop shraddha. From there, we can develop titiksha. From there, we can develop samadhamadi. From there, we can develop viveka vairagya. And eventually, probably, you will start understanding moksha as a goal. And if you already understood moksha as a goal, so that is your samadhana, you are convinced about moksha, then based on moksha, we can develop the shraddha and all the tools that are required. So this is what I wanted to discuss today. And I throw open the floor for questions. And if you have made any notes in your self-observation in the last days, so please do that. And as I told you, this session, the more participative it is, the more value I can bring here. And more, because when individuals come with their inputs and their notes, we can keep it anonymous. Just put it in the chat box and I will deal with that. I don't have to mention anybody's name. And it will be useful for everybody. When we have sharing, when somebody comes with an issue, then probably there are a lot of people who are having the same kind of an issue, and discussion and maybe some practical toolkits I can give, maybe some suggestions I can give after I've been walking in this path for some couple of decades and more. So it will be useful, right? So the better the participation, the better the tangible, immediate, perceptible use of this 1 hour time that we have. So Nishtha is something that we need to actualize in daily life. Nishtha is not something that we talk about. Nishtha is something that we experience. So we need to discuss the principles for better Nishtha through our everyday experiences and observation, and through the challenges that we face. Right? So I'm waiting, and if nobody comes, as usual, we will conclude. I am a little disappointed with the participation, I should say. So I expected more. I thought there are some serious seekers, and I was expecting more participation. And please don't do a show like, when we used to go for this industry visit in MBA, and this we have a few. They say, "There, guys, you are going to ask this question, this question. We need to make a good show. The professor will tell." So we already have prepared questions like TV interview. So we'll just, ceremonially we will ask that question. We don't care for that question. So I don't want that here because this is coming in YouTube. So please, if you really have the question, ask, but don't do fake show. 6:55. We have another 5 to 10 minutes. The understanding of three gunas is very important also for shraddha, for charya, for samadhana. The knowledge of the three gunas, how does it work, is very important. Especially the chapters 14, 16, and 17 in Bhagavad Gita are very, very helpful for that. You can read. Self-observation notes would mean daily activities, or how we feel or how we reacted to situations. Yes. How you can start with, I'm not asking you to log in, put down on paper every situation that you face. No. Certain strong situations in a day, if there was a significant moment that affected you emotionally or in an intense manner, either cognitively, like it made you think a lot about things like that, you observe how you tend to think, and how we react. See, how we react to something tells about how conditioned our mind is. How that me reacting and me being affected by the situations, how it affects my fundamental thinking and value structure. How it makes me, does it make me value things differently, or does it question my faith? Because that is the topic here. Does it question how I see my spiritual practice and my wisdom related things, the validity that I have for them, the validity that I ascribe for the spiritual things that I am associated with, the validity that I ascribe for them, am I questioning that? How much am I questioning the validity of any of my spiritual support system related knowledge or practices? Is my everyday experience making me question that? That is the main point that I wanted you to take note of. So how does it affect your thinking, the value-based thinking? And is it making me question my goals also? That also. Is it making me question my surrender and faith? Is it making me question my fundamental goals that I cherish a lot? It's like, is it giving me a goal confusion? Is it giving me a faith confusion? Is it shaking my faith? That I wanted you to make a note. And if something like that happens, we need to discuss. If I cannot answer that, I will tell very plainly. This is outside my expertise. Please consult such and such person, or who might consider might help. Or I'll tell you, this kind of person is good for addressing this like that. So it looks like I answered them. Right. But this everyday journal is very, very useful. This Nishta journal. Please try to maintain a Nishta journal. It's very useful. You can look back, think. We all need to spend, every person with a spiritual aspiration needs to find time to sit and reflect. No matter, this bhakti yogi, I do only chanting, only japa, it's all great. But it's important to sit and reflect. Japa or pranayama is not going to replace sitting and reflecting about how you are aligned inside and how things affect you and how you tend to think about stuff. So, how is my thinking? How am I feeling? This is very important, no matter what is the age. Yeah.
There is a question in the chat box.
Yes.
Namaste. Self-observation notes would mean daily activities or how we feel or how we reacted to situations.
Can you repeat, please? Let me wear my headphones. 1 second. Okay, I thought I'll manage without headphones. Just a second.
Shall I repeat?
Yes.
Namaste.
Yes, you can repeat now. Yes.
Self-observation notes would mean daily activities or how we feel or how we reacted to situations.
That's what I answered now. Yes.
And this says, thank you.
Yes, yes. That's what we discussed now. Any other question? And if somebody remembers something that you think, oh, maybe I can discuss this with Yogeshvar in the class, just make a note of it. Send it to, you can just simply send a text to Miss Maya or put it in the YouTube comments, and I will handle that in the next class. I will keep the question note and next class. She has given you a way to send the question to her, and you please send the question to her, and she will forward it to me, and I will come prepared to answer that question. We can do that because I don't expect you to come up with all your questions in 2 minutes or 3 minutes. It's not possible. But if you spend time reflecting about the shraddha and the samadhana and our charya and the spiritual commitment that we have and how we are working in our, how we are in our process of actualizing our spiritual goals. When we are spending time with that and sitting and thinking about it in our free time, when we do that, or we set aside some time for self-reflection, when we do that, definitely there will be some questions. Definitely there will be some gray areas. Or definitely there will be some, oh, maybe I need to work on this lack and see how to work on it. Something will be there. So if we spend time, we will definitely have things to discuss. So when it comes, make a note, send it to her, and we can discuss. If you feel that it is, I am worthy enough to discuss that issue. Yeah. Okay, we'll finish the class now. Om Asato Sadgamaya Tamasoma Jyotirgamaya Mrityormamritangamaya Om Shanti 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 Om Tat Sat. Thank you.
Thank you so much. It was a wonderful session today. And the participants over here, if you have any questions, please, you can comment us over YouTube. I will upload the video in a very short while. Around 8 o'clock, it will be uploaded. Kindly share your comments. If you have any questions, please text me, or you can even write to feedbacks.saw@gmail.com. Thank you so much. We shall meet tomorrow at 7 o'clock. Thank you.